Okay, it's better. I don't know why, what is happening when it does that, but I'm not a tech expert, but I have enough experience to know when it starts buffering, you're in trouble. I hope I managed to keep the chat and the captions on the last one, but anyway, let's see if this is a stable connection. Okay, so I'll just wait for my 20 students to show up, and then I'll continue. We're going to start here. So as I mentioned, I'm going to provide the instructions for the BA2 Plus. The TI BA2 Plus, and then the other students, if you're using a different calculator and you can't figure it out, let me know and I can share some instructions I have already prepared similar to these for those calculators. Again, if it gets blurry, just refresh. Refresh. Okay, so I have a calculator in my iPad, and it looks like, where did it go? This one. This is it here. So it is a financial calculator. At the bottom it says Advanced Business Analyst. So we're going to use the statistical functions and the finance time value of money row, this one here. We're also going to use the cash flow keys, the NPV, the IRR. We're going to use all of these. So this row, row number 2, row number 3 is going to be used, and I'm going to teach you how to use the stat mode in the calculator as well. Okay, so what I'll do, Felix, email me, Felix, okay? Anyone who wants the notes, just email me so I don't send them to everybody and people have a bunch of notes they don't need. Yeah, so Felix, inbox me, okay? Email me. Okay, so on this calculator, you'll see if I fill up the screen and I want to clear it, or if I made a mistake, let's say that's not a 6, I can use this arrow here and delete it, you see? That's a really important key, this arrow. Now I want to clear the screen, and there's several ways to clear the calculator. There's several spaces to clear. When you just want to clear the screen, you go down here, just the clear button. I don't know what CE is, but C for clear. Could be clear error, I'm not sure. So that will just clear the screen. What if your calculator is acting funny and you're not sure why you're getting certain answers, and you just want to return the calculator to the manufacturer defaults? Then you do a clear of the entire memory. And there's several spaces of memory on this calculator. So to do what's called a hard reset, you need to hit second reset. Now there's nothing there, but if I have things in the calculator stored and I want to clear these things, I do second reset. Do I have to hit enter? There. So those are the instructions. The first set of instructions here are how to clear everything. So this is a hard reset. Now you don't want to do that every time. You just want to do that if you feel that there's something wrong with the calculator, you've hit or you've entered some value, some setting that is giving you strange answers, so you do a hard reset. Just to make a note, the CEC just clears the screen. Only. Now, every space has a unique clearing function because, for instance, let's say I put something into the time value of money space or keys, and I also have something in the statistical keys or the stat mode of the calculator. And I don't want to affect what I've stored in the statistics memory. And there's other memories too. I just want to change or clear the memory for the time value of money keys. So I use the specific second clear TVM. So I'm telling you all this now, and it might not be relevant right now, but you'll see the significance of this later. So let's say I enter numbers into this row here. Okay. And I want to clear it out. To do that, let me put something in here. Okay, so that makes no sense, right? Something's wrong. My payment is -14. That doesn't make sense. So I want to clear this and start over. So I hit second, clear TVM, and that should clear. There's nothing there right now. All right, so second TVM to clear just this row of data. So that's for the time value of money, TVM. I accidentally recorded something. Okay, go away. I'm going to have to make this a little smaller. One moment. Okay. Now there's also worksheets in this calculator. For instance, I can put a series of cash flows into the cash flow keys. So I can put numbers in. So just watch me for now. We're going to be practicing all of this so you'll know what I'm doing. All right, so I have things in the cash flow keys. Now I want to clear what I did. There's an error. I want to fix it or clear it and start over because there's an error in here. So do I just clear the screen? No, it doesn't go away, right? So how do I clean it? Just do I say, oh, worksheet, you see down here, clear work, that's blue, so I need to use the second key. So second, clear work, does that do it? No, it doesn't go away. The only way to get the worksheet clear is to be in the worksheet. So you're telling, because there's several worksheets. There's the CF or cash flow worksheet. There's the data or stat mode worksheet. So you have to be inside the worksheet and then second clear work, all right? So as an example, I can put things into stat mode. So I'm going to teach you how to do this. This is data I can put into stat mode. And let's say I made a mistake and I want to clear it. Does that clear it? No, because when I go in data, it's still there. So what I have to do is be inside the sheet and then hit second clear work, and it's gone. All right, so let me make a note here. You must be in the worksheet before you clear work. Okay? Questions so far? Okay, so what we want to do next is set up the display and then reset or make sure that the default is compounding once a period. So first we're going to go to the decimal places. These are the steps for displaying 9 decimal places. Now, why do we want to display 9 decimal places? Because we are going to work with interest rates, and interest rates have infinite decimal places, but we're going to store just to see, we're going to ask to see as many as, 9. And I'm going to demonstrate how to use the memory keys to save interest rates or numbers with infinite decimal places. When you save them, the calculator stores maybe more than 25 for your calculations, and we have to get into the habit of keeping all our decimal places and not rounding. Okay, rounding, intermediate calculations cannot be done. Okay, you don't round intermediate calculations in solving a problem. So let's do the formatting. So to display 9 decimal places, second format, tell the calculator 9, enter. And if I take a number like 8 divided by 11, I see 9 decimal places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay? I think that's the most you can see. Yeah, because the screen has a blurred out section here. All right, again, second format, it's already set to 9. Say 9, enter. and then check if it works. I did 8 divided by 11, 9 decimal places. Then we want compounding to occur once a period. This is really important because the formula I'm teaching you assume that compounding is once a period. Compounding of interest. So we need to set that. Let's make sure that that's the case. So if you have a different calculator, familiarize yourself with all these features as well. I had a student who was doing very poorly. She was a good student, but because of one of these settings, I think it was this one. Oh, sorry. Again, that happened. Because of these settings, she was getting all the wrong answers. All right, so to set this up here, compounding once per period, you want to make sure that the periods per year, so that's what that stands for, or periods of compounding per year, or per period. It's going to be confusing, but the point is it's set default thinking that it's like a year, and how many times a year do you want to compound? Well, we just want it once. Now the Y is for year, but we're going to change our interval of reference from year to other periods or other time periods. But the idea is whatever it is that you're looking at, whether it's quarters or semi-annual periods or annual periods, you have to modify your variables or what you're putting into your formula so that they correspond to the timing of compounding. So the timing of compounding, if the compounding happens every year, then it's once a year. If the compounding happens more often than a year, then what I'm going to teach you to do, if you didn't know before, is convert everything to that same frequency of interval. So you would need everything written in quarters. So this will all make sense. If it's quarterly and you have a quarterly interest rate, then you need quarterly periods. And this still applies. It would be once per period, once per quarter, compounding. So set things up like this, and then once you learn this, you can look at variations. The final setting we're going to make is that payments will be assumed to be at the end of a period unless otherwise given. So what am I talking about? When you're looking at a horizon and you're looking at cash flows over the future, or even if you looked in the past and you had cash flows, we presume that cash flows occur at the end of the period as opposed to anywhere else. So if something else is happening, you have to set up your calculator to know. For instance, payments. Well, when you make your payment for a mortgage or rent, you make that payment at the beginning of the month, right? It's not at the end. So we would have to tell the calculator, if we were interested in making a calculation about our payments for our housing, rent, or mortgage, we need to tell the calculator to consider those payments at the beginning of the month or the beginning of the period that you're looking at. So to do that, these are the steps. Second begin, second set. and that will be giving you completely different answers. So second, you see in the time value of money row, begin, second, set. And what you see on the top of your screen, even when I clear, there's BGN to remind the user that you are in begin mode of the calculator. Now, payments at the beginning of a period will give different answers or solutions if you're calculating present value or you're accumulating for future value. They will give you different answers if the cash flows are assumed at the beginning or the end. So you got to get that right. So it warns you, whoops, you're in begin mode. Are you sure you want to be in begin mode? If so, you continue. Otherwise, you need to change it back. So you do the same steps. Second, begin, second, set. And now we're back to the default. Now do not reset your entire calculator to do that. If you forgot how to get rid of the begin on your screen or the begin mode setting, look at this page. This is page 3 of your lecture notes. This is a very important page that you will probably refer to often. Okay. So how many of you bought the BA2 Plus, just so I can know? Who purchased that BA2 Plus or found it or had it available to them? If you buy the BA2 Plus on your smartphone, you also have access to it on your iPad, if you have an iPad. Now, I will be using Excel a little bit for the class. Okay, Eric. I will be using Excel a little bit for the class, but that's not my goal. My goal is to prepare you for the CFA exam, and so that's why. Okay, Eric, you bought it. Good. So you need to learn to work with this type of financial calculator. Okay, does anybody else have any comments using other calculators or whatever? Okay, so nobody bought the calculator. Oh well. Or if you bought it on Amazon. Okay, let's see. If you bought it on Amazon and you're going to wait for the physical one, I understand. Okay, could you repeat how to go back to the end mode? So to go back, very important that you go back, you just repeat the steps. You do the same thing that you did here. Second begin, second set. So it's a toggle. Okay, so let's do this. Second begin, second set puts me into begin mode. And to get out, I repeat. Second begin, second set. And now it's gone. Okay. Let me know if I'm going too fast. No problem. Okay. So we have the TVM keys in the third row. We have a worksheet that I talked about, like the CF keys and the stat mode. But there's also Oh, very good, Juan. Thank you. Okay, so they're also the worksheet of your memory. So there are 10 memory slots on this calculator. And to store values in these memory slots, you use the keys number store. Why don't you guys tell me what you bought or what you're going to use in the chat, so then I can see the distribution of calculators. You're going to need a calculator for this class. You cannot do this class without a calculator, without a financial calculator, okay? Okay. So where we find these, I'm going to show you how to use this and then how to recall the number. So store is for storing and RCL is for recall. And then you can observe your memory by using the arrow keys once you enter the worksheet for memory. Okay, so it's another worksheet. So you have to think of memory as another worksheet. Okay, so you'll just review these steps later if you don't have the calculator right now, and that's just fine. So let's do this. Let's go to the calculator and let's put some numbers in. Let's put into memory 0 the number 10. So 10, that's the number, and I store into 0 a 10. And let's put 100. So you put the number in, then you hit store 1. Now I've put that in memory 1. And I'll put 1,000 and store it in memory 2. Okay, so what do I have? Let's see. I need to go to second mem, and I can see that I put 10 in memory 0, 100 in M1, and 1,000 in M2. Yes, the videos will be available for you to review. Yes, you're going to see these videos will stay where you found it. Okay, they're going to be stored there. All right, so I put the memory 0, 100, I put a 10 into 0, 100 into 1, and 1,000 into 2. I want to clear it. Let's say I made a mistake and I want to clear it, or I'm finished. So I hit second. Clear work. That's not going to work, right? I need to be in memory. So let's go second memory. I'm here. Now I hit second. Oh, sorry. Second clear work. Sorry. I need to turn off the notifications. I'm not sure how to do all that very quickly. Notifications. They're all off. I think it's probably my iPad that doesn't have things off. 1 minute. Sorry. Off. Maybe my computer. really don't know why that happened. Here. Okay. That won't happen again. All right. Yes, the videos will be available for review. Okay, where was I? So I cleared the memory, second memory, and I cleared it using, once I was in, second clear work. Now, let's say I want to recall it to make calculations. So let's put in some numbers again. Let's do that again. Let's do 10 store, no, that's wrong. Yeah. So I put the number first, 10, store, and then I tell it I want to store in memory 0. And then 100 store in memory 1. And let's just check that they're there, 10 and 100, so they're there. Now what I want to do is recall 1 or recall 0. You see, hitting recall, I can pull up the numbers in memory. So you can see that in memory 0 I have 10, in memory 1 I have 100. I can see it there in the worksheet, or I can put them on the screen to make calculations. So let's say I want to recall 0, and I want to divide it by recall 1. So 10 divided by 100 is 0.1. All right, so the difference is that memory just shows me what I put in there, but using recall, I can make calculations on this with the screen, or the numbers on the screen. All right, so again, if you don't understand exactly why I'm doing all this, it'll all make sense later. You'll see I'll be using these tools. You can also recall 0 here. So there's 10 memory slots. Questions? All right, another thing you need to know before we begin is the philosophy, I don't know what to call it, basically the way, or the modus operandi, the way the calculator works. The way in particular the TVM keys work for TVM, the time value of money, the way that the functions or the formula are used in the calculator needs to know whether your cash flows are inflows or outflows. And the way they distinguish is with a sign in front of the number. This is important because it indicates these equations are set up so that deposits, for instance, deposits are made, and then you want to see what those deposits accumulate to. A deposit would be a cash outflow with the intention of accumulating a positive amount. We need to keep track of that to understand, we need to keep track of that in the calculator. So the calculator can give you the balanced result. It's not a very good explanation, but you'll get the hang of it. All right, so what's time value of money? This is the basic time value of money formula, and we're going to spend some time on it, and then I'll come back to this page. And we begin here. We begin here. So this is very basic 2-period model. Very basic, but quite dense with information. Okay, it looks very basic, but it's quite dense with information. So I need your attention. You might think you know all of this, and it's not a big deal, but it is. It's a very big deal. We need to understand the terminology so that you can problem solve, right? So here's a 2-period model, and what we have is this would be now, the current. Usually we start talking about this as now, but I can position this off into the future. I will change the number accordingly. Right now I'm going to use 0 as today or now. And that's a reference point for what else is on this, a 2-period timeline. If 0 is today or now, then 1 is 1 period from now. So 1 period needs to transpire, leaving us at the end of period 1, so that the number here corresponds to marking the completion of period 1. So today is 0. This is the beginning of period 1. Period 1 transpires, or we work through period 1, and then we end up here at the end of period 1. So the numbers correspond to end of period. So that's why 0, as much as it's today, it's also referential to what happened before. It's the end of period 0. Okay? So each tick mark, each mark denotes 2 things. You can have the future perspective, making it the beginning of period 1, but it also has a perspective relative to the past. It's the end of what happened before, end of period 0. And this is the default that I mentioned to you, is to work as though things happen at the end of period. So the number ends up corresponding to that thinking. Okay? So the end of period 1, and then we have the beginning of period 2. So these numbers don't correspond because the numbers refer to the end of a period. Beginning of period 2 ends, we mark it with a 2 because it's the end of period 2. But it's also the beginning of period 3. All right, so the point of this drawing is to demonstrate that what's here corresponds to it being the end of a period. So the 2 means end of period 2, the 1 means end of period 1, and the 0, as strange as it sounds, is the end of period 0. Questions? Okay, a problem. We have a problem here. Here's your interest rate, and I have questions for you. I'm going to give you 10 minutes to work on this. However you do it, I'm going to demonstrate. This will be our first problem. I'm going to demonstrate to you what I expect to see in a test type situation as an answer. So I want you to answer, what is $1,000 invested today worth in 2 years where the interest rate is 8%? I also want you to tell me what's the simple interest amount and what's the compound interest amount, okay? So I'll meet you here in 10 minutes. How are you doing? Are you done? Do you have a number for me? Some numbers? Part A, B, C? Oh, Juan wrote 1013. Okay. Thank you. Say thank you. Part A. All right. Okay. 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 So you guys can get part A. And okay. Good. Okay. So let's do this together. So what is the interest rate? Let's start there. So I give you this interest rate. Now in reality, there are a lot of interest rates available, but for this problem, I've identified this as the interest rate available to this person's investment. Okay, so they're going to invest with a interest rate of 8%. Can someone tell me where the interest rate comes from? Okay, so I'm going to write that down here because we have less than an hour, and I want to talk about this more. So it's been identified that that's the interest rate for this investment. So it implies that I am I'm looking at $1,000 that's going to earn 8% each period. And I'm going to leave it there for 2 years. So what's going to happen is I'm going to put in $1,000 and I'm going to get the $1,000 back plus I'm going to get 8% more. Okay, so for giving up my money, and I'm giving up the potential investments that I can make over that period, I'm giving up any kind of consumption I could have had in that period. Okay, so consumption, investment opportunities are gone. I've put it away at 8%. Now I'm talking about other investment opportunities, but I'm putting it away at 8%. So that's the one I'm going to get. And this is what I will be compensated for giving that up over this period, 8%. So I'm investing at 8%, foregoing other opportunities. So that's going to be $80, right? So you can see it like that and just get the answer, or we can notice there's a pattern here. I can see that there's, just like this is being multiplied by 0.08, this one is being multiplied. There's like a 1 in there, you can see. Can you see it? Let's move this over. Oh, I have trouble with my eraser. So there's one of these, and there's a fraction of this. And that gives me, I could pull that out, and it looks like 1 plus 0.08. Okay, so you've seen this before, but that's where it comes from, right? I'm going to get the principal back, and I'm going to get some more. So I could write it like this, or 1.08 in the bracket. And in the end, all it is $1,080. Okay, so all that happens. You can look at it this way, you can look at it this way, you can see it this way. It depends what we want. If we just want an answer, or if we want to understand and build a pattern, because there's going to be a second period here. So in the second period, that $1,080 is going to come back, but a little bit more, 88%. Okay. But what was this amount? This amount was these two, right? We could just get the answer and put it all together. Sorry, I did that wrong. Yeah. So I'm just going to do this. What I want to do first is derive the formula that we're going to use. So you saw that you got this number very easily. So after 2 years of accumulation, leaving the principal amount in there and the interest in there each time you're getting a little bit more. Okay, so what I want to show you is just like I did before, I can put this together. This one is the same as before. What is this? This is so this one here can be written as so this is the accumulated amount one period, and this is the accumulated amount in the second period. But isn't this one just this one? So what I'm doing is however many periods of accumulation, I'm using this factor of accumulation, this 1.08. So these are all equal. And the simplest way to write that is we write that the future value at time period 2, so FV is for future value, is equal to the principal amount so the principal value or the present value at time 0 accumulated for as many periods as we need. That's what I'm doing here. I find the future value, the amount I want, is the present value for 2 periods of accumulation. In general, what I'm doing is using this formula. So the future value at any time t is equal to the present value at time 0 accumulated for those t periods. And this is your accumulation factor, and 0 plus t makes t. So this is the basic time value of money formula that you will use for a lump sum accumulated for several periods. Questions, comments? Okay, so it'll always be like that. And now, if I look back, what's the simple interest and what's the compound interest? So the principal amount was 1,000, and it's made up of simple interest and compound interest. The future amount is made up of the principal, the simple interest, and the compound interest. So what are all of those components? No comment? Okay. So simple interest ignores compound interest, okay? So what is so you need to know what compound interest is to ignore it from the final amount. Simple interest is as though there is no compounding. So it's just the principal amount times the interest rate times the time period. So it just ignores that you're compounding interest and then compounding interest on the interest plus more interest over number 2 in period 2. So this will just be the $1,000 times 8% times 2. So times 2. So I'm going to actually square this off because you need this formula for simple interest. So it's 160, right? It's 80 and 80. So simple interest ignores the compounding effect, and it gives you an idea of how much. It's a real just quick way to calculate the interest you can expect. If you don't have a calculator and you just wanted to make a mental note, just take 1,000 times 8% times 2, and that will give me the 160. So that's simple interest. So what does that leave? You've gone from 1,000, and this entire amount is extra or interest. So 160 is simple interest. So what is the compound interest? Okay, so compound interest would be the simple interest, the total interest minus the simple interest. In this case, it's the total interest minus the simple interest, and it's just $6.40. So simple interest covers it captures most of the interest, it looks like. But you can't ignore this amount, okay? You can't ignore the compounding effect. It's exponential. The compounding effect for 2-period models doesn't look huge, right? But it can really blow up if there are several periods. And how can I see several periods? Well, mortgage is every month, so after 30 years, every month, that's a lot of months. It's not just 2, is it? It's 360 months. So you can imagine the interest really compounds. Lots of interest, in other words. Okay, so very simple example, but you've seen a lot here. Questions? So some of you answered and said that the compound interest was the whole thing. But that's the accumulated amount. So let's put some terminology here. Okay, I'm going to call this is the accumulation factor, right? You know, this is the accumulated amount or the future value. I think that's fine. Can anyone tell me another way to find the simple interest rather than doing it like this? Another formula? Did I say simple? Another way to find the compound interest rather than taking total minus simple to find it? No, it's literally interest on interest. To find it, I'm going to make this bigger. It has the exponential, so it's just the present value times the interest rate again and again. In this case, it's going to be, actually, you know what? I'll put it here. So I will put a square box around that. You guys should know that. Okay, so it's the interest on the interest. Does that make sense now that you see it? No, that was simple interest. This is compound interest. Okay, so you guys can take a screenshot if that helps. Transcribe this to your notes. I think I have to keep it big. Okay, so all we've done here is just use mathematics, right? Arithmetic. I haven't even used the calculator yet, the time value of money. So we're going to get to that next. I just want to be sure you're following what I'm doing here. So we learned about how to compound a present value amount to the future, accumulating it, and then we discuss what interest is, and then we separated it into simple interest and compound interest. Got it? And you have three formulas. You have the basic time value of money formula, you have the formula for figuring out simple interest, and you have the one over here for compound interest that I made very small, just to fit it in. Okay, any questions? No questions? I've done some calculations here, blah, blah, blah. And now, let's go back here and look at the layout. So my notation, relating my notation to the calculator. The third row of your calculator is used for time value of money calculations. I refer to this as the time value of money formula. On your calculator, you'll see in the third row there's an N. N signifies the duration of the investment and is actually T in our formula. So N for the number of periods or T for time. The interest per period or year, as it's written here, is the interest rate that we use here. PV is the present value, and I put a subscript on it. Here I'll be using subscripts throughout. And it's important that you practice using them, okay? And presenting them on tests as well. Then the PMT, the payment, is not in this formula. You'll see that later. This is not used by us, but it's on the calculator, so we'll talk about that. We haven't talked about payment just yet. All we've worked with is a lump sum investment over time. And FV stands for the future value. And remembering that we need this to be set on our calculator. If you have a different calculator than the one I'm using, make sure the payments are one per period. Now we're going to use this finance function in the calculator to calculate our answer. So in a test situation, if I ask you a question like this, what I expect to see is the formula with the values inside and the answer. That's it. Maybe a timeline. If it's a very complex problem, show me a timeline. But rewriting the formula, will not earn you any points on a test. Okay? I want to see this. The formula with the values entered and the answer. Now what's here is how you enter this into your financial calculator. Also, this will not earn you any points, but students like, although students like to write this on their test, you're not going to get any points for it. Okay, so I've had students submit tests with just this, and that's not what I want. I want you to tie it back to finance theory, give me the formula, however simple it is or however complex, and then your answer. This is just for you. If this helps you in problem solving, then write it down. But for grades, I need to see this. Okay? So let's accumulate to find the future value. 2 periods, 8%, and there's a negative here because it's an investment. It's an out-of-pocket cash flow that is invested to make $1,166.40 at the end of 2 periods. So let's enter that into the calculator together. So we begin with 2, you put the number in and you hit from left to right, N first, then 8, and you enter your interest rates as numbers, as rates, not as decimals, whole numbers. Well, they might not always be whole, but as not the decimal version. That's the interest rate. I'm going to invest 1,000, so that's 1,000 with a negative in front. Do you guys see that? Negative? Oh, it's kind of off the screen. Let me fix that. And then there are no payments, so I'm going to have to, oops, fix that with my arrow. Did I already put it in? So that is PV. And then there are no payments. There are no intermediary payments. There's just one lump sum at the beginning, and then I want the value at the end. So there are no intermediate payments or interim payments. So I put 0 in there just so things don't get messed up. So I put something in every key from left to right. And then I ask the calculator to compute, just see, compute the future value. And that's my answer. And that's all I expect you to do. Questions? Now the calculator assumes that it accumulates interest at the end of each period. That's really important to know. That's how the formula works. So I'll just add this formula here. Seems like a little choppy. Not sure why that's happening. Anyway, let me know if you have any problem with the feed. Okay, so I'm on to the next. What about the value of $1,000 to be received in 2 years when the interest rate is 8%? So the interest rate again is 8%, and we're using it because that is the comparable value of foregoing consumption. So if you are prepared, you're prepared to give up consumption today to get 8% later, then this is your world. This is where you're at, okay? If you use a different rate, if you trade off money today for money tomorrow at a different rate, then the interest rate would be different. Okay, so you're agreeing to, in this case, you're looking at deferred consumption with a price of 8%. You know $1,000 are coming to you in 2 periods. What is that worth to you today? Now I'm going to first solve this using our time value of money formula, because I see in the formula that future value at time t equals present value now accumulated for t periods. And that's what connects them. Well, it's just an algebraic formula. Can't I just isolate this amount instead? So I could do that, right? I could simply rewrite that. So you probably learned this. I can, very good one. I can, what's called discount. I can discount the future value to find its present value. Lots of noises today. I'm not sure where that's coming from. So I can discount this future amount 2 periods to find the answer. And that seems easy enough. I can do it algebraically. So I could you know what, I'm going to use a different color for my writing. And you get 857.34. But now I'm going to ask you, okay, we got it that way. Why don't we also do it on the calculator? And then we're going to talk about it, all right? So, and then we're probably going to go. Okay, so everybody's good so far? This is called discounting when you're looking for the present value instead of the future value, knowing an amount is coming 2 periods in the future. That's worth $857.34 to me today. So you could think of this as a different formula, or you could just think of this as the same formula where you enter, where you have this value, you have this value, you have this value, and then you just solve for PV 0. Okay, so you can, it's really the same formula. So that's why I put them together on the formula sheet. Now let's solve this in the calculator. How do we solve this in the calculator? Again, I set up the formula. This doesn't get me any points, but this does in a test type situation. That's all I want to see. And then entering into your calculator is very easy, just like we did before. But instead of asking for FV, I'm going to ask for PV. And notice there is a positive here, right? Because I'm going to receive that amount later. So let's put that in the calculator. So I have some stuff in the TVM key, so let's practice second clear TVM. So that's clear, there's nothing in there. I'm going to now enter from left to right 2 periods, 8%. I'm going to leave present value blank. I need to override payment, that there's nothing in there. And then enter 1,000 to be received in the future is a positive $1,000, and I ask for computing PV, and this is the answer I get. It's a negative because I am going to, well, let's talk about that actually. Why is it negative? It's negative because that's the way the calculator demonstrates answers to you. So if you say that you're going to receive 1,000 in 2 years, that would be worth $857.34 to you, meaning you would be prepared to spend that, right? That's what it's worth to you. That's the fair price. If that $1,000 is coming by virtue of an investment, this is what you would be willing to pay for that, so that you earn 8% over that period, those periods. No, you can use the calculator. My point about the point that I'm making here is that writing this down on your test will not earn you any points. This is what I need to see. Now, however you solve your problem, you will use your financial calculator to get the answer. Okay, for full marks. So let me talk about this a moment. So $1,000 in 2 periods is worth $857.34. So let's say you were, it wasn't an investment, like you didn't have to spend this to get this. Let's say this was just a gift. Let's say in 2 years you're going to receive a gift of $1,000. Again, I can ask you, what is that worth to you today? Wow, it's really noisy right now. Sorry. Always doing construction on the apartment above me. So my question was, so if we treat it like, an investment, this is the fair price of the investment. This is how much you'd be willing to pay to get $1,000 later. But what if it was a gift to be received? What is it worth today? Does the number change? Someone comment. So my question is the answer any different if $1,000 to be received in 2 years is a gift? What is it worth today? Nobody? So this is really the essence of finance, okay? I have about, a few minutes left here. And I really want you to get this, but it's so noisy upstairs. I'm thinking that maybe we'll just stop here. Misael is correct. It will not change in Naisabeth the same. It remains the same. Very good. So yes, it will not change. It will be the same. The value of $1,000 in 2 years is worth $857.34. Now this is the thinking, and I'm going to say this and then we're just going to go unless you have other questions for me. If I know I'm going to receive a gift of $1,000 in 2 years, I can borrow against that gift. I can go and borrow, again, at 8%. I can borrow $857.34 because I know that I can use the $1,000 in 2 years to pay it back because that's what this loan will accumulate to. So even if it was a gift, it has value to me today to put money in my pocket so I can do something with the proceeds coming in 2 years. I could do something with it today. So I could take the $857.34 and do something with it. I can invest in something else. Right? I can try and realize opportunities with this amount. So yes, what is it worth to me right now? $1,000 in 2 years? This amount. Okay? You guys think about that, and I will stop here. You can ask me any questions, or you can ask me questions next class. You can inbox me, you can text me if you have private questions, or you can arrange to meet with me if you'd like. Otherwise, I'm going to say have a good afternoon. And bye for now. But I'll just hold on and see if anyone has any questions. So what I've done is I've sent you an email with some review exercises. You guys can work ahead with the notes, read ahead, try the exercises. I'll send you, I think I sent you more than just one, no? I think I sent you, sorry I forgot, but let me see. Oh, I send you all kinds of stuff. So go ahead, work on those, and work ahead. Spend, let's say, 5 hours this week on finance. Read those chapters or skim them at the very least in preparation for next class. So have a good day, have a good weekend or week. And I'll see you on Friday unless anyone has any concerns over the week. So do your best to keep yourself organized and study regularly, okay? Okay, I'm going to stay with the chat. I'm just going to turn the microphone off. Okay, bye.